Hello, welcome to the shop. Today we're going to continue at looking at Chinesium-made tools that run on Milwaukee batteries. Now this is another blower. If you recall, we took a look before at this blower that turns your dog into a superhero, and we're just going to compare this one with that one. They have pretty similar specs actually. So let's see how they compare and just see how it's made, how it looks. So let's get into this here. This, okay, right away looks a little different, but it's about the same size. This comes with some components and a manual. If you recall, the other one did not come with a manual. Let's just get rid of the box there. So there's our manual. I don't think any of the specs are in the manual, so we'll have to go online for that. Now we have attachments. What do we have here? We have a necked down attachment that goes on there like that. And we have this style attachment, which I think is for inflating things. And this would probably do really well for inflating things like air mattresses and inflatable rafts, or whatever, you know. And then this bigger one obviously doesn't go on that end. It looks like, okay, this is designed to go on here, so that might be some sort of a suction type option, maybe to deflate your mattress faster, something like that. That would definitely help out with that. So let's see here. Last time we tested one of these, we tested it with the anemometer, which this one we're going to do the same thing, and I think we'll compare it against the other one. Now this one's a little different because this one has a variable speed trigger, whereas the other one had set speed ranges, if you recall. This one has just a specific, it'll run without me holding the trigger. So this one has 4 speed ranges. This one is infinite, but it will not run without me holding the trigger. So pros and cons there to each. So let's get a battery on this thing. Battery goes on well. It's not like it's a fight. Some of these tools don't accept batteries all that well, but it's not bad. Now you can make the light work without the tool coming on. So we have a minimum speed, kind of like we did on the other one, and we'll compare these to see which one you get less out of. But let's see here. I'll just run through the range. So if you notice that variable speed wasn't incredibly variable, let's count the actuations. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So this also has 4 speeds. It seems like it's variable speed and infinite, but you can hear that it's very coarse, and it basically has 4 speeds, the same as the other one. So I'll be really curious to compare these. I'm wondering if it's basically the same thing in a different shell. So let's get into looking at what specs they claim on this. We'll open up the book here. This is all safety stuff. Yep, it tells you, okay, so this is a suction nozzle. So that's probably meant for like deflating your bags and stuff like that very quickly. So that's kind of a handy thing. The other one does not have that. Operations here. And here we go. Here's some sort of spec. So we have, if we look here, this is, okay, so this says it is operating volt range is 16 to 20. That might be important. Maximum output is 150 watts. So they're not really getting behind a specific rating here. They're just saying that it'll consume 150 watts, which we're going to test. Okay, so this is saying 140 watt or 440 watts, whereas this says 150. So we'll see which one's right. I'm thinking the 150 is probably more accurate. Now this is good information here. It says that the battery voltage drops below 15.5, safeguard against overload volt damage. It's actually under voltage damage, so that's actually really good to see on here. And we're going to test that. We'll see what voltage it shuts down at. Now it's saying 100,000 RPMs. That's really moving. I don't have a good way of testing that. Now this says 440 mile per hour or 37 CFM. I don't think, having played with this anemometer before, one of those is not like the other. So I guess we'll just have to see. I think primarily we're going to be comparing this against the other. Here's your multifunction stuff. Okay, so there's some claims here that we can take a look at. We'll see what our shutdown voltage is. That's always very important with these tools. If you recall, the other one was like 13.2, so it was down there, which is too low for these batteries in my opinion. This one, if it is around that 15.5 range, that's much more in line. It's better for these batteries to get shut off at that. And then the wattage consumption, we can test that as well, so we'll get into that. So there you go, here's our attachments, and we could play around with the anemometer. I don't think we're going to see any additional gains in wind speed by restricting it. If you remember when we tested the other one, we did not, so that is something. The other one was in meters a second, so they made that 440 mile per hour claim. Let's take care of that one right now. So we're set on our anemometer to miles an hour. You can see it there in the lower corner. So let's just see what we can do here. Now I think it'll work this way. Yes, it will. So I'm going to hold this, hopefully so you can see, and this is behind it. This initial testing, we're just going to go perpendicular, and I'll try and move in and out. So I played around with it a bit there. The most I could really get out of it was like 70-ish. Let's check it against, because on this one we did not do miles per hour, so let's just check this. Let's get her on full bore. Holding about the same angle, we got about the same speed, so it seems like they're relatively close together. Now let's go to meters a second. Let's go back to that, because that's the one that we tested this one in before. So let's test our 4 speeds and see what we get. Okay, so now that we're back on the meters a second, let's just test this to see if the restriction makes it the airspeed velocity any faster. I don't think it's going to. We're going to hold this straight down on it, and then I'm going to put the adapter on and we'll see what the change is. So the best I could get was about 25. Put the adapter on here. There we go. So that about halved the air velocity, which is very consistent with what we saw on this one. So that's what I was expecting to see. So for the additional testing, we're not going to use this. But now what we are going to do, I think, is we'll test, since this has 4 speeds and this has 4 speeds, let's test the speeds against each other just because we can. So speed 1, let's see what we get. So straight on speed 1 is right around 9.7-ish. If I take advantage of surface area, I can maybe eke 14 out of it. So let's get this guy down to speed 1. So that seems to be much slower. So the slow, even taking advantage of the angle on this one, seems like the low speed on this one is higher. The low speed on this one is lower. So let's go to our second notch. It's hard to tell when I'm in it. There it is. So that's 12.5. 12.5. Taking advantage of the angle. About 18 or so. So second speed is about the same on both of these. This one and the new one here that we're testing. So let's go to the third speed. 1, 2, about 18. 27. So that's about 18 to 27. I think the third speed on this one is actually a little bit faster than the third speed on this one. And here we go, we'll do the full bore test. About 25. So I could go between 25 and 35. So it appears as though this one has a little bit more air velocity than this one. Now, we compare the two. The diameter of the impellers is different. This is much, I shouldn't say much smaller, but it's a little smaller. This one's bigger. It has a bigger inlet. The outlet is actually smaller on this one. So this one may be less restrictive, but this is possibly designed to be what it is. And the overall body length is very similar. This is a more compact one, and it stays on when you turn it on. This one is got to have your finger on the trigger for it to work. Hand feel on both is decent. I think this one's probably slightly more ergonomic. You can see there's a little bit more contouring in the handle, though this one's not bad. It's just a little bit more bulky. They probably had to work around mounting this switch in the handle, so that's probably partly why. This one is not a bad tool. They're both made of ABS, so that's just what you expect from these things. So now let's check, because on the tool here it says 150 watts maximum output. So let's get out our power supply and check all that out, and we'll compare. Maybe we'll hook this one up and see power ranges, and maybe get an idea that, you know, I'm assuming this one's going to last longer on a battery than this one, but we'll see. The meter will tell us. Okay, we have our meter set up. Now, I understand the display is going to be upside down. Fortunately, with the way the lid is on this thing, it's just what it's going to be, because if I had it spun right ways round for you, I wouldn't be able to get in here to work at it. So we have positive and negative hooked up to our tool, and we have our nominal 20 volts. You can see it set here, 20 volts we're set, and we have maximum current 24 amps set. These leads might not take 24 amps for long, but that's what we're allowing this thing to have. So let's just see here. I will hit the first mark, and maybe I should take some notes here, because I'm not going to remember to compare everything. And let's hit the first mark here. We're going to go to the first set. Let's turn our power supply on first. So there we go. The first notch in our 4-speed variable speed. 0.84 amps, 16 point, it's about 17 watts. You can see our wattage here, and we're 0.83 amps. So let's make that 17 watts. We'll just write that on a screw bag here. 17 watts. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so we've gone up to 1.4 and about 28 watts. Still holding our nominal 20 volts. So 28 watts. Let's go up to the third one. I call that about 76 watts. Let's go all the way. I'd say we're about 148 watts, and what was that, 7 point something amps? 148 watts. So they were pretty close with their 150 watt claim. That 400 some watts was not overly accurate. And I forget what was the current full out. So that was like 7.2. Now if you recall, we'll run through this one again just to compare them. Okay, so we checked what our wattages drew so we can compare to this one, and we'll get a better idea then for our battery usage once we get into that. But for now, let's see. This claims 15.5 volts it will shut down. Let's see if that's true. It's very good if it is. So let's just turn it on. I'm going to leave it kind of low so that you can still hear me. Let's go down. Now we're hearing it slow down as I drop the voltage. Now I'm going to go change our voltage range. 15.9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Right at 15.5, she shut down. A little bit of a delay, and that's okay. You actually want a little bit of a delay so you don't get like a false on and off tripping. So we're good there. This tool will not really damage your M18 batteries. I think when we tested a stock M18 tool, it was a flashlight, we got around 16 volts. So 15.5, 16, you're in a good range there. You're not really going to hurt the batteries too much. So that's very interesting. Let's turn that off. And let's hook up the super blower that we previously tested. And let's compare it to the other. Now let's get this. Alright, and then let's get our voltage back to where we were, our nominal 20 volts. So both are on our nominal 20 volts. So let's go right off the bat here. Low speed. So low speed, as you recall, this was lower in velocity as well. So it is 12. Basically 13, we'll round up, and 0.64 amps. So let's give it a click. 45 watts, 2.23. Alright, give it another click. And the last one. So this draws more current and has a lower airspeed velocity. That's very interesting. So this draws 7.2 amps. Here we go. At the highest, we were 148 watts and drew 7.2 amps with this one. And the super blower, we were 170 watts and 8.5 amps. If you recall, we had our maximum velocity out of this one. So this is drawing less wattage to give you more, basically. It's more efficient of a tool. So that's super interesting, and that's why I like to play around with this stuff. This tool is more efficient than this, but this one is probably just about twice as much as the super blower. So it's all what you want. This one here protects your battery and gives you more for your power. The super blower is about half as much and doesn't give you as much air velocity. It has a feature where it just turns on, which is kind of nice if that's what you want. It has this really cool superhero dog on it. I don't know what that's worth in horsepower, but it is there. So I think it depends on what you want out of these. This one is about twice as much as that one, so keep that in mind if you're deciding what you want to do. But super interesting results on this. We got what we wanted out of it. We got a good shutdown. We're shutting down at 15.5 volts as advertised, so that's nice. It is drawing around 150 watts. We got 148 on our test, so that is also as advertised. They did not make really any claims. I'm sure that 400 some mile per hour was a typo. I mean, can you imagine having something, you wouldn't even be able to hold on to it if it was 400 miles an hour. I don't know what was going on with those ratings, but even the CFM gets weird depending on how you measure it and where. So I know the anemometer that we have, we would have maxed the scale out on the CFM on that, so that wasn't accurate. But we did compare the super blower with this other blower, and I think I like this better than the super blower. It seems to be, I really like that it has battery protection in it. That is a critical thing with these cheap aftermarket tools. A lot of people don't look for that, and you can damage your batteries. You spend money and you get batteries, and you run them down too low, you will damage them, and they won't charge. So be very careful when you buy things. Like this super blower is right on the verge. It takes these batteries down to like 13 volts. It's way too low. I guess I could illustrate that here quickly. Let's turn on our power supply, and we'll just show you where the super blower turns off at. So I'm down to 14, and I'm gonna go 13.9, 13.8, 7, 13.3. Right at 13.2 it shuts down. That is way too low to protect an M18 battery. Now I do think some of the reason why they're doing that is, I think they're planning on protecting M14 batteries, because M14 batteries are used elsewhere in the world. That's not really used here in North America. So this tool could be designed for M14 use, which is okay, I guess. But if you're using M18 stuff, be very cautious with tools like this. It works well. I've used it a lot in the shop here. It is exceptionally light. It is lighter than this one. This one's not exponentially heavier, but the super blower is lighter. But yeah, I don't think I would. Between the two, I think I go with this one, and it is essentially a $50 tool. This is $25. So maybe this is one of those where you kind of get what you pay for a little bit, where this is just a little bit more, but you get some protections where you can use it and not worry about destroying your batteries. And you have a little bit more efficiency. The barrel design on this, maybe the way the fan blades are inside, it's really hard to show them, but the way they do that, obviously a little bit more efficient. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. It was kind of fun comparing these two together. Maybe I'll see if I can get a third one, and we'll have a battle royale of the blowers. Who knows? But happy our power supply is working out. If you didn't see anything on that, check it out up here. There we go. We built this on the channel here. We still have some modifications to do to this, but I'm waiting on some parts. So once those parts come in, we'll get back into the power supply and we'll do some other modifications to it. But in the meantime, we got to use it. It's working well. We have our batteries on it. Everything's going good, and it works. So as always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Okay, quick bonus round footage for those of you that hung around, and what we're going to do here is we're going to compare the weight of these two. So the super blower Superhero Dog coming in there. Super Blower weighs, it's really hard to try and get that string to stay, but right around, wish I could see it, 264.8 grams. What does that mean to the rest of us? It means 9.3 ounces. So let's go back to our grams and let's see what this is. A little bit heavier, 327 grams. And let's go to our ounces. 11.5 ounces. So this isn't exponentially heavier, but it is heavier. So hopefully this was interesting. And thanks for watching.